Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning, Tony. Sorry, are you on the boat? Okay.
Morning, David.
Morning, Mike. You look very stern this morning.
It must be.
Yes, you do. It's hard to believe it's April already.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Feel like April. It's been cool.
yeah.
Nice.
It's been wonderful, actually. Yeah. It's good to see you, Mr. Rosen.
Good morning. How are you, Mr. Mintz?
Fine, thank you.
Good.
There's Sergeant Rich Zeltman. He's with us.
Good
With
morning.
with an announcement today, I predict. Yeah.
We'll see.
Seeing where the
We'll see.
action is.
Things have changed since I spoke to you last.
No, they haven't changed.
Okay. I was almost hoping.
There is somebody special I'd like for you to meet, though.
Okay, that's great.
Very secretive, Rich.
Yes, yes. A lot of things are happening on this small little island. It's Mr. Suarez. Mr. Powell is here with us, and we will begin promptly at 9 o'clock. Hmm. Okay, it's 9 o'clock in the morning on April 14th. I'd like to welcome everyone to the April meeting of the Captiva Community Panel. The first thing we always do is take roll call. David Mintz is here. That's me. Bob Rando. He's there, but muted. Okay.
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay. John Rosen.
Here.
Okay. Ken Suarez.
Here.
Mike Bennett.
Here.
Okay. Sandy Stillwell advised us that she has a meeting and could not make today's meeting. I think Bruce McDonald is out of town. Marguerite Tia Maville, she should be joining us. Ken Suarez, I said, is here. John Wade should be joining us. Jay Brown should be joining us. Linda Ladd is on her way. She'll be joining us. And so we will proceed. And when they come on, they will come on. The first thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the March meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
A second, please.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposition? Any no votes on the minute? Okay, thank you. Minutes are passed. First thing on our agenda today are updates from our local community leaders. And the first up is Sergeant Rich Zeltman.
I'm
And
here, David.
Sergeant, you're there, and please take it away.
Thank you. So that there is somebody special I'd like for you to meet. I've been here on Captiva for 2 years, and due to some family dynamics, I had to grab an opportunity off the island. So I'll be leaving my post here on Captiva effective this week. However, because I'm leaving, there is somebody that's going to take my space, and that opens up the door for somebody new. And his name's Sergeant Adam Whitten. He comes highly recommended, and you'll see. I'll let him introduce himself to the panel here in a moment, but I just wanted to take this moment, instead of giving you like any type of crime update, just give you a special thank you update that, it's been a pleasure working out here with you guys for these past 2 years. And I know I've gotten choked up when I try to see as many people as I could throughout the week to say hello. But you know what? I'm not going far. I'm still with the sheriff's office. I'm still right across the bridge. So I'm not going anywhere, and I'm just a phone call or a short drive away. So just want to let you guys know that, and I'm going to let Sergeant Whitten, introduce himself and explain a little bit about his background, and try to keep it short, Adam. It's a long meeting. They've got a lot to cover. I know you had so far an excellent career, but you're new, and this is kind of moving things over to the next generation, I believe.
Sergeant Whitten, you'll have as much time as you want.
Good morning. Yeah, you don't have to worry about that. I'm a very fast talker, so I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I appreciate you guys having me, and I appreciate the kind words from Rich. Like you said, my name's Sergeant Adam Whitten. Coming from our headquarters, I've been in investigations for the last 5 years at our headquarters building off of 6 Mile. I'm really excited to get out from behind a desk and kind of be hands and feet in the community here in Captiva. The background on me, I started at FWC in my law enforcement career, so I have a little bit of that environmental and marine law enforcement experience. Then came over to the sheriff's office, worked in a couple of our districts, district detective, and then, like I said, I've been at our headquarters the last few years. So I'm excited to be out here and have the opportunity. What I will say is that obviously the community out here is very unique. There's a lot of different issues and concerns the community has that are not something you're going to encounter anywhere else. And there's a lot of regulations we enforce out here that are also unique. And so what I will say is go through this learning process. If there's ever anything I don't know, feel free to ask me a question. I will always find out what the answer is and get back to you on that. I'm just excited to learn. I'm going to be leaning a lot on our two deputies that we have out here, Chris and Christine, for some of that support. The only thing I have to share to pass along is just a positive incident we had over the last few weeks where Deputy Lusk, as well as fire and EMS, were able to effect a life saving on a young juvenile, in reference to a medical call here on the island. So the juvenile had some sort of a medical issue going on, started to have issues breathing. Deputy Lusk was able to arrive on scene, initially render aid, and then he actually grabbed the child and ran it out. It was a long driveway out to fire and EMS, and they were able to get the child to the hospital and had a successful outcome there. So I just want to recognize one of our deputies for that. As far as any issues going on the island, I'm new. So, I'm going to have to learn as the time comes. But like I said, anything that you guys need, I've tried to meet everybody. I share my contact info. And if I haven't met you yet, I look forward to meeting you. And I'm always available. So feel free to call me anytime.
Thank you, Sergeant, and welcome. I believe you're going to be living on the island. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah, my wife and I moved out yesterday. So Rich moved out of the house on Saturday and I moved in on Sunday. This was after about 5 days of notice from the agency. So it all happens very quick, but we're very excited to be out here. And like I said, there's a lot to learn, a lot of new faces to meet. So I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, and Sergeant Zeltman, I just want to say I'm sure I could speak for the panel, but other people may want to speak also. You've been a true gentleman and a pleasure to work with and a pleasure to have on this island. And you will be missed, but I think you set a fine example for a an officer who enforces the law, but also does it in a soft and a very professional way. And we really do appreciate your 2 years here.
Thank you, David. That truly means a lot. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else would like to say anything to Rich or to our new Sergeant Witten, who and let me just say this, the more we see you, the more you drive around in your car and in that little, whatever that thing you call that, that vehicle, that's the most important thing to us is to have you and your deputies visible on this island. It makes all the difference in the world.
For sure. Thank you.
Thanks for your service, Rich.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Rich, thanks. Look forward
Rich,
to.
thanks so much. I think you did a great job for us. I really appreciate it, and I wish you the best as you move on.
Yeah,
Thank
I'd
you.
echo those words, Rich. I look forward to meeting Sergeant Witten in person.
Me too,
Awesome.
and welcome back to the island anytime, Rich.
Yeah.
I'll be
Just
coming
don't
back.
be a stranger. Okay.
Yes,
Thank
I'll
you
be
for all the
visiting.
service.
Yeah.
I'll be coming back visiting.
Okay. And Sergeant Winton, we have meetings the second Tuesday of every month. And if you could fill us in on all the crime and all the gory details that go on Captiva each month, that would be much appreciated.
Of course. Yep. I'll be here and I'll have more info, obviously next month. But I can say since I took over, there have been no crimes reported on Captiva. And that was yesterday, but so far so good.
At least no crimes that you're aware of. There are some crimes. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Captiva Fire District, Jeff Powell is with us.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Before Sergeant Witten, welcome to the island. I know we've already met and conversed, but before you jump off, I'll bring up just one thing real quick. We've gotten a decent amount of calls this season, if you will, referencing like e-bikes specifically. I guess now that they're renting them on Sanibel, there's been quite a few of, a lot more people are able to make that trek from Sanibel all the way down there up here nowadays. So there's been a lot more of them on the island. So people have reached out to us just kind of asking what the if there's regulations on them, this and that. I know Sanibel's rules are a little more, a little bit different since they've got the bike paths. So I know they've got some differences than what we do up here on the road. But there's just been a lot of concern. Had a couple bike accidents and stuff like that. So those are just kind of, I feel like, drawing attention to it. So just kind of wanted to bring that to your attention, and not sure if you guys are getting the same calls or if you want to address it or not, but just wanted to bring it to your attention since we've gotten a bunch of them.
Yeah, the e-bikes and the scooters are obviously that issue is not related just to Captiva. That's an issue everywhere, and it's kind of something that I don't think state law has fully caught up to yet. I'm not super well versed in all of the specifics. That's something that obviously I need to learn a bit more on. But what I can say is that when it's a e-bike that has pedals on it that could be operated as a bicycle, per Florida statute, it's a bicycle. So the same regulations apply. The 3-foot rule. They're a bicyclist on the roadway. If it's one of the bicycles or the e-bikes that doesn't have any pedals, then that would fall into the category of a motor vehicle. So there's a little bit of a nuance there. The problem is most people aren't biking down the road at 40 miles an hour, and some of these e-bikes with the pedals can, achieve pretty high speeds. So it's really one of those things right now that it's kind of a issue between the bikes and the vehicles, and everyone kind of just has to do their part to be as safe as possible. We'll enforce any bicycle regulations that apply to the e-bikes, just like we would any traffic for motor vehicles. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll make sure we're targeting those.
Sounds good. Appreciate that. I will say the accidents we have had have ironically not been related to e-bikes. They've been more regular traditional bikes and road bikes, but Obviously, as those grow in popularity, and like I said, they're making their way up here. It's a lot easier to get from Sanibel to Captiva on an e-bike than it is on a regular beach cruiser. So,
Yeah,
uh,
we did have a fatality on an e-bike on Wolford Road 2 weeks ago.
yes, Sanibel
That's
did have
outside of our jurisdiction, but it's, very close to Captiva.
correct. I think that kind of spurred a few more phone calls because we did have a decent amount of them after that. I don't know the specifics of that accident, what the cause was or wasn't. I don't know, but yeah, you are correct, Jay. So. Couple other things just to bring up. If you guys notice, probably may have seen yesterday and today, we've got a company out here doing drone testing with our guys. Company's developed a new drone that's Florida and government legal, but he's got the ability to drop life rafts and stuff off the beach. So we've been training with that the last couple days. We're going to train with it on our boat as well today. Just kind of see what their capabilities are and whatnot for the future. Has the same, capabilities any other drone in any other instance. You got voice, you got FLIR. Being able to drop actual flotation devices directly from it is pretty cool. So, if you see a big drone out there flying around today, or you see our guys on the beach or the boat, that's what they're doing. Don't be alarmed. Um,
Jeff,
we
how big are these drones so we know what we're looking for?
Yeah, so this one's pretty big. It's probably twice the size of what you'd consider a regular drone that you'd see flying around that, any novice will be up there flying. It's probably twice the size of that. To be able to carry payload like an inflatable out over the water, it's got to be a pretty decent size. So you won't miss it if it's in the air, put it that way, David.
Okay.
Not helicopter big, but it's probably twice the size of a regular drone. So the we just finished new hire testing last week, so hopefully this time next month I'll be able to let you guys know how that went and what our new hires are going to look like. Had some pretty good candidates this time. Numbers weren't huge as the seems like the whole state of Florida is hiring, but we had some really good candidates this time around. So I'll hopefully give you more update on that next time. We are working through almost finishing our annual audit, which is my favorite time of year. And my second favorite time of year is preparing for hurricane season. So I won't talk too much of that today because it's only April. So I'll save that for maybe May or June, and we'll have a little more in-depth conversation on that. I think that's all I have today, unless I'm sure there's probably a few questions in the audience.
Yeah, Jeff,
Yeah.
have you had any conversations with South Seas about continuing use of the helicopter landing area on the Rauschenberg property?
Yep. Yeah, so we had a brief but initial conversation that we are allowed to continue using it for the time being. Basically, until they decide what they're doing with it, we're allowed to use it.
Okay, thanks.
So yeah, so it's not I don't have a timeline or anything like that, but while it's in its current form, we're allowed to continue using it. And to be honest, we have.
Uh-huh.
I think we used it last week, or maybe not even. I think it was a couple days ago. So yes, we have and will continue for the short time being.
Okay, thanks.
Uh-huh.
Any other questions for Jeff Powell, our Captiva Fire Chief? Okay, Jeff, thank you.
Okay, thanks, David. Have a good day, everyone.
You too, Jeff.
Next thing on the agenda is CEPD update. Brighton Hurd, I see him there.
Good morning, everyone. Our meeting yesterday was canceled. We didn't have a quorum, but we are having a workshop in lieu of it on this Thursday. It'll be held in our office and it'll also be available on Teams. And there's a link in our website that you can access it through. Many of you, I'm sure, have seen all of the ropes and bollards continuing to be installed by Bob Johnson. He's getting close to the end of what we've tasked him with, but there are a few additional areas that I would like to get approval from the board on. I'd like to remind everyone that we have marked all of the paths that were left unplanted with a GPS, and we're going to provide that data to the county. If you historically have had a path to your home over the dune system and that was not left unplanted, please contact our office as soon as possible so that I can get that path added to our comprehensive list. Um, I'm sure many of you also have noticed that the escarpment was leveled last week. I hope that everyone has had a much easier time accessing the beach. If there are any comments or areas that require additional work, please let me know and we may be able to draw attention to that. I've had quite a few signs installed over the last couple of weeks to remind folks that they need to stay off of the dunes. If you notice any particular areas that are receiving a lot of foot traffic that don't have any signage, please let us know so that we can have some signs installed in those locations. Coastal Vista is still working to design vegetative enhancements for all of our public entrances. I was hopeful that we may be able to have that presentation at this workshop this week, but they are not quite ready. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll have another workshop and allow them to present that information to us. We do still have the Australian pine removal program going on until the end of June. If anyone has Australian pines on your property that you would like to have removed free of charge with stump and all debris, please just contact our office. And also, if you are noticing a larger than normal number of iguanas or they bother you in any way, you can also contact our office and I can send out a trapper to take care of them for you. And I think those are all of the updates that I've got for this month. Does anyone have any questions?
Brighton, you said that you're marking the paths and you have Coastal Vista doing a plan for, I guess, certain entrances of vegetation. Is there at the end of the day going to be an overall map and design? So in one place where the people on Captiva can see exactly what's planned and where the paths are and, in one document?
I can provide that to folks. It's mostly for the county for future enforcement capabilities so that they know where all of the designated paths across the dune system exist. Um, so I can certainly provide that to anyone. I don't know that we necessarily need to put it on the map that we have on the website because I don't want to draw attention to it and have anyone from the general public think that those accesses over the dunes are public accesses. And just to clarify, the work that Coastal Vista is doing to enhance vegetation are specifically at the public entrances or where more of the public accesses the beach at Turner Beach, Andy Rossi, and also Whitman and Laka and the Allison Hagerup parking lot. So those entrances will be vegetatively enhanced with sea grapes and other more substantial vegetation than just the sea oats. But we also have applied for $500,000 from the state to additionally enhance the vegetation. So we won't know until the fall if we've been allocated that money, but we're keeping our fingers crossed.
All right. So you're saying that in terms of where the entrance are going to be, some of them will be private entrances, but nonetheless marked, and they're not going to be public entrances, but where they are will be available at your office for people to see them if they want to see them. I mean, code enforcement, is a little lax out here. And so, I think it's important that the people who live on the island at least know what the rule is, and so that they can decide how they want to respond if there's some violations of where people are accessing the beach.
Sure. And I think that is part of the reason that the county requested this from me. I think that it's been a little bit of a gray area and they just want a definitive map to show moving forward where the paths are so that new paths aren't created without permitting.
Right. So if you do a map, I would suggest you have where it's private, you have PR or private or something, and where it's public, you put PUB or so it's public, so that people can understand the difference between the two.
Sure.
All right. Okay. Are there any other questions for Brighton? The only thing that's related, Brighton, I saw that the Board of County Commissioners approved a dredging plan for Blind Pass last week. So not only is it the policy of the Board of County Commissioners to keep the pass open, but they've actually now approved funding for dredging of the Blind Pass, and that will take place when the county feels it's appropriate and the sand has found its final resting place, and they feel comfortable if they dredge, it won't immediately be filled up again after they dredge. So I think that's where we are at this point, but I expect by the end of 2026, the dredging should begin or something close to that.
The article I read, I believe, said that it was scheduled for sometime in 2027, but I could be
I could be
mistaken.
wrong.
I don't have any
Okay.
more information than you do.
Okay, I could be wrong on the date, but they are committed to doing it. Okay, anything else? Okay, next is SCCF update, Matt DePaulis, if he's with us. He is.
I am, yeah. Hi, David. Hi, everyone. A couple of quick updates for you. We have seen some benefits tick up in the estuary with the recent rains. That's not reflective of any management decisions, but just more water flowing through the system. They're still targeting 350, but as of today, we're over 500. So we've moved over that minimum flows level, but are still well below the optimum flows for the estuary. And this is pretty concerning as we're going into oyster spawn right now. The oyster spawn has begun. So we've seen evidence of that. So keeping the salinities balanced during this time is really important for the longevity of the estuary, making sure we have a robust oyster spawn, ensuring that that habitat gets built out into the coming seasons. However, with this water, we are optimistic because there's been a lot of rain on the East Coast, so that should lessen the need from the stakeholders over there that are vying for lake water with us. And in addition to that, these rains have started to fill up the C43 reservoir. So it's not fully operational yet, but we are hearing that there is water in the reservoir, and hopefully they're going to be able to use some of that to actually balance our salinity as the reservoir was designed to do. So that's something we're constantly talking with the Water Management District and the Army Corps with. I had conversations with Drew and Colonel Bowman yesterday about that. And some good news, the reason I saw both of them yesterday was we were at an event celebrating an additional $2 billion in funding that has been secured for the EAA reservoir. That's the major reservoir south of Lake Okeechobee that is going to reduce the damaging discharges. So the issue that we have on the other side of this when we're in the wet season and getting too much water will be reduced by that reservoir. And this new funding will accelerate that timeline up to 2029. So that's putting it online about 5 years earlier than we were expecting it to be. So that's great news. The sooner that comes online, the sooner we can send that water south to the Everglades where it needs to go instead of out into the Gulf when we already have too much water. So good things on the horizon, still a little precarious where we're sitting today, but hopefully that'll change as we start to move some of that water out of the C43 reservoir into our estuary. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions for Matt? Any questions from Matt from the community, Ken?
No, there are not.
Okay, I just want to acknowledge that Jay Brown is here. He's been here all along, but he wasn't here right at the beginning, so I'm just mentioning that. And I see that Marguerite Tiamaville is here also. So we clearly have a forum should we have a vote on anything, but I don't suspect we will. The next thing on the agenda is listed as community review of 14865 Mango Court Edition. I think we have with us Brittany. Is that how you pronounce your last name?
Mecklin.
Mecklin.
Yes.
So we got it right. You're on the screen twice, so I don't know.
So my audio wasn't working on my PC, so you're listening to my voice on my phone, but I thought I'd dial in camera. So
that's fine. And
there's not two of me.
Okay.
It's my husband's demise.
Okay. So it's a community review under the Captiva Code, Chapter 33, it's Section 33-16-12, Community Review. When someone in the community is seeking a variance, they have to hold a public meeting. We recommend they come before the Captiva Community Panel because it makes it efficient. We post the notice, it meets the requirements of community review, and my understanding is that the notice requirements have been met for this community review for this variance request. Chapter 33 of the Captiva Code governs this request. Section 33-16-15 deviations and variances govern this request. And this is an opportunity for the community to hear what Ms. Mecklin is, what they're seeking for the home. People can ask questions. People in the community in the area around the streets of Mango Court can ask questions. And Ken will take notes of what takes place, and that can be pursuant to the code, be presented to the county if anybody has questions regarding the particular request that's being made in conjunction with this property. And that'll meet the requirements of community review, and then the county takes it from there. The panel can ask any questions they want. If this is something of great import to the panel can take a vote, but usually we do not take votes on this. We just use this as an opportunity for the community to hear what's being requested, and then people who are close to the property can decide if and what how they want to respond to anything that's going to take place on that property. So I'm going to turn it over to Brittany. It's all yours, and to explain what it is you're seeking and why you're here today.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, my husband and I purchased Mango about a month ago. We've been coming to Captiva for years, absolutely love it. Have lots of friends with homes on the island. And so for anyone that's familiar with the property, it's in some need of a little TLC. So we're very excited to do, we have plans set for landscaping. We're adding a pool, and we'll be adding some replacement of the exterior windows, as well as, overall painting and upkeeping. But in addition to that, we are looking, and this part of the request today is to add a bedroom. So it would be a 14 by 24 bedroom off the front. Again, the property sits on the corner, like with Dickey Lang and Mango, and it makes it harder to add an addition with the setback at 25. So we're asking for an acceptance to have the setback at 17. It's the TPC, as you said, the TPC2 zoning. So hopefully that we fall under that designation, and that's really the request today. But if we want to go through, I'm happy to share my screen. I think the plans were already submitted, but I can pull them up now as well.
Sure,
Yeah.
Go ahead. Ken, if you could share screen for Ms. Mecklin, that would be great.
All set up.
Yeah.
And Brittany, for some reason, I think the zoning of TPC2, it's TFC. So I could be wrong, but I'm not familiar with the TPC2 zoning, but I think most of the area there is TFC.
Okay. Are you guys able to see?
We see your
Sorry, don't. Again, here we go. Okay, so I don't know why it's showing this instead of the.
Ken, if you could help Brittany at all.
Well, Brittany, I have the stuff that was in the packet. I can put on the
Yeah.
screen if you want that.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't know why. I can see it on my screen, but what I see on your screen is a notice that says it's not allowed. So here, I'll stop sharing. Sorry, guys.
Okay. Ken, why don't you put on what you have?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. Sorry. Yes. So this is a rendering so if you can see that in the front will be the additional bedroom. And if you scroll down, Ken, if people want to see the actual plans, I'm not an architect, so bear with me, but and these were done. I hired architect, and as you can see, it's just right with outside the lines.
So Brittany, as I understand what you're requesting here is that your home is at the corner of Dickey and Mango Court. The setback from Dickey is going to be maintained, but from Mango Court, the setback is going to be changed from what is 25 feet, which is actually longer than in some places. A lot of setbacks are 20 feet, but for some reason Mango Court's 25 feet. And you're going to ask that be reduced by 8 feet to, I guess, 17 feet.
Correct.
Okay. Ken, are there any questions from anyone in the audience that may be in that area of the community?
Not so far, no.
Okay. Are there any questions from anyone on the Captiva Community Panel regarding the variance request that Ms. Mecklin is seeking?
There are a bathroom being added. I didn't get a chance to see it long enough. It's a bedroom and bathroom.
It is correct.
Did the health department require an enlargement of the septic system?
That's actually why we moved. Originally, we were going to go off the back of the house where there would have been no issues with the setback, but because of the sewer constraints, that's why we actually moved it to the front, which I think in reality it was a bit of a blessing because I think visually it'll look more appealing from as you pull up. But no, we are good on septic.
Okay, so the current flow volumes except the additional bathroom.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Mecklin from panel members or Ken from the audience?
Nothing from the audience.
Well, this seems not to be a major subject of controversy in the community at this point. So, Ken, if you could just draft up minutes of Ms. Mecklin's presentation so she can have it for the county if she wants it.
Will do.
Okay. Thank you again for sharing, Ken. Sorry about that. I appreciate the time, guys.
Okay, thank you very much for coming to the panel on this.
Yeah.
All right. Take care and good luck.
Thank you.
Next thing on the agenda is the South Seas redevelopment legal update. I'll go through this fairly quickly since people are mostly familiar with it. The appeal of the Judge Schenko's decision requiring the resort to have no more than 912 units is scheduled for oral argument on April 30th in Fort Myers at the Lee County Justice Center, courtroom 4A, which is 22075 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. It is going to be, from all I can tell, webcast. The oral argument should be live streamed. And if you go to the Google's Sixth District Court of Appeal on the state of Florida, there'll be on top, it'll say oral arguments. You click on oral argument, and then it'll have a calendar, and you should be able to click on the oral argument that day on April 30th. I've looked at the calendar. It looks like it is the second case to be heard. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 cases to be heard that day. And it's the second case at 9 a.m. So it probably won't be exactly at 9 a.m., even though those two are scheduled for, the first two are scheduled for 9 a.m. Generally, they're 20 minutes for each side of oral argument. So, my guess is, unless something changes, the case involving the Lee County and the CCA would probably start a little after 9, maybe 9:20, it could be 9:40. I don't know. But if people want to hear it, they can probably live stream it, and it'll be on, I would get there around 9 o'clock. So that's what we know at this point. You will probably have a sense of where the court is, what the court is thinking by the questions the judges ask. But there's no way to really know for sure. For those of you out there who have done oral argument in court, rule of thumb is that judges usually make up their minds before they hear oral argument based on the briefs and discussions with their clerks. And they come into oral argument and they ask some questions they may have, but often their minds they've already determined where they're leaning, if not where they're deciding. In 10% of the cases, maybe in 15% of the cases, something happens during an oral argument and judges change their mind. That's why they have oral argument, but often the decisions are made based on the briefs, just so you have a sense of where that is. So that's where we
David,
are.
is this a three-judge panel?
It is a three-judge panel. The presiding judge is Honorable Mary Alice Nardella, and then there's Honorable Petra T. Brownlee and Honorable Roger K. Gannon. Those are the three judges that are hearing the case. My understanding is that, at least from our attorneys, that it is a good panel in that they're independent, intelligent, and have made reasoned decisions in the past. So our attorneys for this case feel comfortable that this is a panel that can understand the complexity of this case.
Question, our presence there is not needed, is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. Your present, it's law day in Lee County, which means law students come, and it will probably fill up the chambers. So I don't think there's any reason for people to be there. They can stream it. It'll probably be crowded, relatively crowded for an oral argument. What's different on law day, from my understanding, I've never experienced it, is that after the arguments are heard with the judges leave, and then students can ask the lawyers who are arguing the case some questions. And that's what makes it different than most oral arguments. But the judges don't listen to the questions that the students ask the lawyers. But my guess is this case was picked for law day because there are good attorneys arguing the case, and because it's an interesting case. Okay.
But there's no guideline as to what's the typical time elapsed between oral argument and issuance of a decision?
No.
So you said earlier, even though the judges may have made up their mind coming into the oral arguments, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to soon get a decision on this case.
No, it could be 1 month to 6 months. That's correct.
Yeah.
You don't know. You don't know. When you become a judge, you decide that.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. The next thing is the petition filed by the 20 petitioners, including the associations of South Seas, RLR, and CCA, to invalidate the zoning approval that took place last summer. That is before Judge Schenko. And Judge Schenko issued an order to show cause, meaning that he ordered the county and South Seas to respond to the petitioner's petition. As soon as they respond, which should be shortly, they advised the attorneys for CCA that they should have their response to the petition filed within a week or two. Then the CCA and the 20 petitioners and RLR have 30 days to reply to that petition, and then they will schedule oral argument on the cert petition before Judge Schenko. My guess is that argument won't be heard until sometime in June or July. So given the scheduling and of Judge Schenko's oral arguments. So I think preliminarily, we would think that's not going to be, oral argument won't be held until the summer. The home of the Soraya home also filed a cert petition seeking to invalidate the zoning approval on the grounds that there was not sufficient buffering and easement areas set aside between the Beach House restaurant and that particular home. And my understanding is the petition has been filed, an answer has been filed, and the reply to the answer is being drafted at this point. And then oral argument will be scheduled before the judge. It's not Judge Schenko, I believe it's Judge Cohen in that case. The other case that there was an interesting development was the what I'm calling the FDUPTA case. It's the case where South Seas alone, not the county, have complained that the CCA in its legal update put out an update that said that the 912 limit that Judge Schenko ordered would be the limitation on in his summary judgment motion that was granted in the CCA summary judgment motion that was granted, which was that the resort is limited to 912 units. The CCA said that included hotel units because the 1973 zoning approval, the 2002 ADD, and testimony from county and South Seas experts have always said that the 912 included hotel units. So the CCA in its update basically said the 912 included hotel units. In any case, there was a motion that the CCA made to basically foreclose to prevent discovery in that case because the CCA believed no discovery is necessary. What was said is written in the update. It's clear as day what was said. And the question is, was it true or not true? Okay. And the summary judgment motion that was granted by Judge Schenko basically said that the 912 included hotel units because that's what he said in his order. It memorialized the density of the 1973 zoning approval in the ADD, and they included hotels in the 912. So anyway, at the motion to preclude discovery, to ban discovery, Judge Schenko basically said that it's too early in the case. They haven't engaged in any discovery, even though they noticed they were going to do discovery. And it was therefore premature for CCA to move to ban all discovery, but he would deny that motion without prejudice, meaning when they file discovery, CCA could return to the court and to ban that discovery or to prohibit that discovery. During the course of that argument for the motion, Judge Schenko asked the question of whether or not in his prior summary judgment order granting CCA's motion for summary judgment, didn't he rule as to whether or not the 912 included hotel units? And the lawyer for CCA said yes in your prior, or something to the effect that yes, in your summary judgment motion, you basically stated as a finding of fact that the 912 includes hotel units. And that was the end of that discussion. But then he denied CCA's motion without prejudice, as I discussed. A few days later, South Seas filed a motion to disqualify Judge Schenko from the case, claiming that they could not get a fair or impartial trial in front of Judge Schenko. And so, pardon me?
On what basis?
That on the basis that he said something to the effect in my prior order, did I rule as to whether or not there were hotels included in the 912, which he did. It was a legitimate question. The answer was accurate. I don't see I personally don't see there's a basis for disqualification, but it just shows how either desperate or willing to spend as much money as possible on these cases that South Seas is willing to do.
Well, what damages do they have? Because we said CCA said it included hotel units. How did that damage South Seas?
That's the question. It doesn't damage South Seas. Their claim is that CCA raised money on claiming something that may not have been true, and therefore it extended the possibility for CCA to continue litigation because it was raising money
I see.
maybe it shouldn't have been able to raise. But, there have been 35 updates over the last 2 years. They're claiming there was a one sentence in one of the 35 updates that somehow was misleading, which we contend was not misleading at all because it was based on what everybody has said has been included in the 912. So we think it's a completely frivolous case. I am actually surprised that Wheelock Street Capital, which is the owner of these South Seas properties, is really allowing these kinds of motions to be filed on their behalf. Judge Schenko is one of the most respected judges on the court, and I'm surprised Wheelock Street Capital wants to be associated with these kinds of motions. But in any case, that's where we are on that. We will see what Judge Schenko does in response to this motion to disqualify. At this point, we don't know. The other case that's pending is the case against the panel, against us, for failing to provide all the documents on the public records request that was requested. All we know about that case at this point is that the depositions that were originally scheduled for Jay, the initial ones for Jay, for Ken Goodahan, and for me have been canceled. So there are no depositions at this point scheduled, and we'll move on from that as soon as we get more information. As everybody knows, we produced as many documents as we could find related to their information requests, at least the ones we can find. They said they have evidence that there were some, based on records requests they made from other agencies or other governmental bodies, that maybe we didn't turn over everything we had. We asked them for what they found, and we'll take another look. So we just think this case is also frivolous, and we're surprised Wheelock Street Capital is associating itself with this also. The DOA case, the case where the CCA is challenging the amendments to the Land Development Code, that's on appeal. It has not been assigned to any judges at this point, so we're waiting for 3 judges to be assigned to that case. And then there also are some easement and amenities cases brought by some of the associations on South Seas because they claim that their easements have been interfered with and their amenities, access to amenities, have been removed. So those cases are pending. Those are cases related directly to the associations on South Seas. The only other thing of interest is the aquatic builders just sued South Seas, Wheelock Street Capital owners. They are the people, the construction company that built the water park. In their complaint, they said that the water park was built for $5,439,200. So about $5.5 million is what the water park cost to build. And according to the complaint, South Seas has failed to pay $621,000 of the bill. And so that is now a lawsuit pending from aquatic builders against South Seas. I have no idea what the merits of that lawsuit is. I have no idea whether or not they're entitled to that extra $621,000 or whether they didn't perform that they were supposed properly. I have no idea, but that is a public record and it's pending. Okay, so that's the South Seas legal update. Are there any questions? None. Okay. Anybody fall asleep?
No, I think we've heard these reviews, many times, Dave, and we're pretty familiar with the cases.
Okay, so then I think in the future, I'm just going to, if something changes, I'll just report that rather than summarize it.
I don't know about that. I think it's useful to keep hearing it if you don't mind doing it.
I don't mind doing it, but I hate to put people to sleep. So I will,
I think we are just respectful full trusting you, putting it in your hands, and don't wanting to interrupt when you give us the information.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Marguerite. Okay. The next thing is the public records litigation. I reviewed that already. Depositions have been canceled. We're waiting to see how that case proceeds before Judge Cohen. But I skipped over the Rauschenberg property update. There was an article in Gulf Shore Business that came out, I believe, yesterday. It's headlined, Rauschenberg Foundation sells land to South Seas, rejects higher bid, written by David Dorsey. I recommend that people review that article. What the article basically says is that the Rauschenberg property was purchased for $45 million and that the community investor, who remains anonymous, and basically the information David Dorsey had was that the community investor offered $47.9 million, basically $48 million. And so selling it to South Seas, the foundation basically sold the property for $3 million less than the community would have purchased it. So that is interesting in itself. Again, hard to explain. There's one other piece of news relating to this, and I don't have any more information than this, and I don't even know how to interpret it. But the Rondo piece of the partnership of the South Seas new ownership, which is Wheelock Street Capital, the Rondo Group in Naples, and Timbers Resorts. After the purchase of, or actually before the closing of the Rauschenberg property, before the closing that transferred the property to South Seas, the partnership at South Seas, which was March 31st. But prior to the closing, around March 23rd, the Ronto piece of this partnership under the name of Wheelock Street Capital, WS Owners LLC, Owners 2. It's WSSSIR Owners 2 LLC. They submitted to the property appraiser's office a redevelopment of the Gulf portion of a proposed redevelopment of the Gulf portion of the Rauschenberg property, and submitted a plat map with 47 units on the Gulf side of the Captiva Drive, part of the Captiva Beach Homeowners Association. They submitted it as a subordinate condo association within the Captiva Beach Homeowners Association, consisting of 47 units. Those 47 units, you can look on the LIPA website, those units or lots, they barely, subdivided it into 47 lots. Those lots some of them are less than 50 feet in width and less than 100 feet in depth as far as I can see, but certainly less than 75 feet in width. The RS1 zoning for that property is 75 by 100, 7,500 square feet, 75 by 100 as the minimum lot size in that area. They have now subdivided it for the property appraiser's office for lots smaller than that. So it looks like that what the property appraiser did is put on the website a subdivision which is more dense, allows greater density than the zoning on that property. And so the homeowners association and other people on Captiva are looking into that, communicating with the county and with the property appraiser's office and with attorneys just to better understand what's going on with this property and what the rights of the community are and what the rights of the homeowners association are, and whether this land condo association that was created with 47 units, whether it has any legal standing or whether this is something they did and the property appraiser just put it on there irrespective of what the zoning is. So I'm just
David,
letting,
when you say 47 units, are you saying units in the way we define units, a single dwelling is a unit? In other words, it's not 47 condo buildings that may have 6 units per building.
it's hard to know. What they've done is they've divvied up the property into 47 squares. Okay, so there are 47 squares of property lots. They're basically lots. And they're
They're
saying
50 feet wide.
some of them are 50 feet, some of them a little less than 50 feet, some of them a little more than 50 feet, but they're less than 7,500 square feet, which is the minimum lot size. And you can't build on anything greater than the minimum lot size of the zoning under the Captiva code. So it's hard for me to answer as I sit here today what the relationship is between that plat map that they submitted to the property appraiser's office and what they could build or what they were allowed to build, be allowed to build under the zoning. And we need clarification on that.
But the county issued 47 strap numbers.
Correct. It's not the county. It's not the county. I don't know who issued those strap numbers. Those strap numbers were issued. They're on the property appraiser's website. Maybe the county issued them. I spoke to the county who does the strap mapping, and he was not aware of them when I spoke to him. So I don't know if in fact the county issued those numbers. I don't know.
Someone did. I mean, who else can issue a strap number in Lee County?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. And I don't understand why anybody would issue why anybody would agree to a lot size that is significantly smaller than the minimum lot size permitted on the property. So anyway, that's the question that needs to be asked. I don't know what it was done before closing. I don't know if it had something to do with financing or it has something to do. I have no idea. We just saw it a day or two ago.
David, there's a question from the audience. Where online can they see that plat?
If you go to LIPA and go put in the Rauschenberg Captiva LLC in any one of the properties and you click on the aerial view, you can bring up you can see all the Rauschenberg properties in those. It'll show the subdivision there with the breakdown of the number of lots.
And each one of these shows a strap number.
Each one of them shows yes, each one has a strap number on them. Yes. Yes.
Well, I don't know. Can the county just do that? Doesn't something have to be said about that this isn't consistent with the zoning? Can they just
That is the question.
something like that?
The county sent out a zoning verification letter to the Rauschenberg Foundation, to their attorney, basically saying this is governed by the Captiva Code, which is 3 units per acre for hotel and for residential dwelling units, which would include condos. There's minimum lot size requirements under the zoning and under the Captiva plan. And so you have what I think is a subdivision created by the property appraiser's office, put on their website, which is inconsistent with the county zoning at this point. And that needs to be understood.
The Lee County website specifically states that the property appraiser's office issues strap numbers.
It does. Okay, so there's the answer to your question, Ken. You asked the question and you answered it.
I looked it up while we've been talking because I don't see how any other governmental entity that is assessing property tax can issue a strap number, because once you issue a strap number, and that strap number triggers a value, which then would trigger a tax value to that strap. Who else would do it? So somebody from the appraiser's office is feeding you a line of you know what. So
No, the appraiser's office, I believe it was the appraiser's office that did this. Yeah, I do believe that. I think they received a recorded condo land association. They had it broken down into those different lots. And they just, as you say, they just added, they provided scrap numbers to those lots that they received from South Seas, who submitted it to the property appraiser's office. My understanding is that the county did not do that, but I could be wrong. But you seem to be also concluding that it was the property appraiser's office, not the county. So if it was the property appraiser's office, they would have no understanding or no knowledge of either the recorded covenants of the Rauschenberg Foundation that were applicable to the successors, and they would have no knowledge of the zoning, the RS1 zoning on that property, or what's in the Captiva plan. So they got a recorded subdivision sent to them that was recorded by the county clerk. It had the picture of the various subdivisions of the property with the straps, and they just took that from the recorded document and overlaid it on the property. What I don't understand sitting here is what that means.
Yeah, right.
In terms of anything that the county would or wouldn't approve.
But just because a lot has a strap number does not mean it is a buildable. It could be a non-conforming. It could be a non-conforming property, but issued a strap number. And there's a bunch of properties that are issued a strap number. It doesn't mean it can be built upon. So that's what's going to have to be sorted out, land development code and how this is properly zoned. So, and then within a condominium association, obviously there's going to be, common property. Most associations, if not all, common property is also issued a strap. So it gets awfully confusing once you start getting into the weeds of this. But regardless, you have to believe this is some kind of nefarious act on their part, especially given that this was done prior to the closing. They would have had to been working directly with the foundation to file application for this particular type of activity, including granting that parcel with a condominium association and filing the articles of incorporation and whatnot.
Yeah, I don't want to assign motive to it. I just want people to understand that this is what has taken place. More and more people are aware of it now because you just go on the LIPA website and people just ran into it. And so I'm getting calls on it. So we had to go and figure out what's going on. There is a declaration of condominium for Sunset Drive and Wolf Way. Those were the two vacated streets on the Rauschenberg property. And it shows a map with the 47 lots as I've described it. And it even extends like a lane into that property. So they've even put roads in the subdivision, and they've actually have one of the streets. Well, they don't have that. So anyway, we will find out. I mean, we are required now to find out exactly what all of this means. It may mean very little. It may mean that they unilaterally decided to create this subdivision, which may not conform with the code or the Captiva plan, the Lee plan. And they may have done it for their own purposes, which I do not know. But we will find out and we will keep everyone advised. Are there any other questions?
There's one other comment from the audience, David. Just a note to thank you for your regular South Seas litigation and Rauschenberg property updates. Though it might be somewhat repetitive at times, the reviews are helpful because there are so many complex issues and lawsuits involved. Please continue to provide the options.
Yeah.
And I had one question or observation when you were talking. Have you gone back and looked at the old plat maps?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And
Because
they're
it sounds like what they might be trying to do is resurrect those.
something close to it, but what I could see, it's not identical, Ken. And I think the old plat maps go back to the 1920s.
Yes, they're the ones on the basis that
Yeah.
people have sued to get other development allowed in the village.
Right. So, yeah. So, I mean, obviously they've been superseded by zoning and by the comprehensive plan. And I guess someone can make an argument. We go back to outhouses and we go to pre-zoning densities, but I don't think that's gonna fly. And whoever made that nice comment, I'll send you the check as soon as we're done with the meeting. Okay. Jay, are no more questions, Ken?
There's one other comment, but it's for an item later in the agenda.
Okay. Jay, stormwater and wastewater.
Okay, first on stormwater, I had a conversation with Phil Gilligy, who is the county person that is managing our wastewater project. He is
Stormwater.
I'm sorry, stormwater project. I think everybody knows by now that the county has hired a consulting company to develop a model of how all the stormwater flows on Captiva present day. And then once they have that model, then they look at various solutions to how you might handle the stormwater that follows on Captiva outside the South Seas area. Phil tells me that the consultant's computer was hacked and was caused considerable damage, and that they have not been able to make any progress as a result of their computer system being down, and that the project now is going to have fairly significant delay. We have been going on the basis that the project was going to be completed by the end of this month. Phil tells me now that it will be delayed probably at least a couple of months and perhaps, well into the summer. So that's where we are right now. We know no more than right now than what we knew when we hired the consultants. So
Okay, John Rosen, it's up to you now to prevent flooding on Binder Lane
right.
because obviously we're not going to have a result from this study.
It sounds to me like it's going to be well into the summer before we're going to have a report, from the consultants, for us to evaluate prior to them holding a public meeting to present their, findings and recommended best wastewater plan for our Captiva area outside of South Seas. So, as brief as it is, that's the stormwater report for this month.
Thank you, Jay. And wastewater?
On wastewater, there has been significant development on that. For a couple 3 or 4 months ago, Kimley Horn developed a plan to make the FGA plant long-term sustainable. We're all concerned that that plant being in a mangrove area, that it won't have long-term viability. Kimley Horn, working on its own, developed a plan as to how they think FGA could be made long-term sustainable. And it's also a plan that shows some ideas of how capacity could be expanded significantly at FGA. This development has caused me to reconsider the possibility of using FGA to do our stormwater, our wastewater processing, rather than having Sanibel's Donax plant do it, because the Donax plan added about $50 million of unanticipated cost to the overall project. And so that's making the Donax facility as being pretty uneconomical to use for processing our wastewater, which tells me we ought to reevaluate the possibility of using FGA and expanding capacity at FGA. Unfortunately, I don't think we can really evaluate that alternative until we know what the outcome is going to be at South Seas in terms of how many units that FGA plant's going to have to serve in South Seas. So my current thinking is that this project should stay on hold until we get clarification of what the total needs of South Seas are going to be. And then I'll evaluate perhaps changing from using Donax to using FGA.
Yeah. There are two issues with that, Jay, that we have to consider. One
Right.
is that FGUA is not the favorite provider of Lee County at this point.
Right.
And we know at some point Lee County was looking to replace FGUA, regardless of what happens with that plant.
Right. And that could be, David, an outcome of whatever happens with
Right.
South Seas. That could put additional emphasis behind trying to do something at FGA.
Right. And then the second consideration is I think our data suggests that the FGA plant currently cannot handle the wastewater of even of the proposed redevelopment plan that South Seas has gotten
Right.
approved for from the county. And now if we add in additional condos, for example, on the Rauschenberg property,
Right. Exactly.
makes it greater. And the question is, could you ever build a plant large enough there to handle that amount of wastewater, and whether that would ever get approved? So there's a lot of moving.
Well, and the other thing too, David, is that if Rauschenberg's developed and FGA is not suitable long term, then that suggests maybe everything would be moved, or the county would try to move everything to Donax, which Donax does not have capacity for at the current time, which in turn will result in the need to expand Donax capacity. So there's a lot of moving parts here.
Right. I mean, the increase in density is causing all kinds of issues.
Right.
The Bayside Rauschenberg property is already connected to the FGUA plant.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I understand that, Ken.
Right. Right. Is it true just for the Bayside, Ken, or is that true like the new courthouse courtyard building on Captiva Drive? Is that connected to the FGA plant?
No, it's just the Bayside property. I believe the courtyard property is on septic.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. All right. Are there any questions from anyone for Jay? I just want to make note that Linda Laird is with us here, and so we clearly have a quorum. Mike Bennett told me he has nothing new on the infrastructure committee, so we're going to pass over that.
There was one comment or question from the audience on that, David.
Go ahead.
When appropriate, it would be helpful to understand how the community wants to handle the sand on the bike path on the Twin Waters stretch. The bike path is basically unusable from the Jensen S-curve past Twin Waters. The county did a great job on the overgrowth of the plants and weeds, but not the sand. There probably needs to be a longer-term solution to deal with the sand continually coming onto the road on the Twin Waters stretch and from the tractors in and out of Twin Waters.
I think that's a good point.
Yep.
I thought we had some discussion of whether or not CEPD would work with possibly Bob Johnson or some other vendor to regularly monitor that. I don't know if that's taken place, but I will follow up on that. And that gets a little complicated, as we know down the road, and I don't mean that as a pun, but down the road, they're going to be fortifying that curve, that Jensen curve, with some serious construction for resilience. But I think we don't know when that exactly is going to happen. So I think that we should try to create, if possible, a maintenance program to keep the sand off that road to prevent any accidents with bicycles. So I'm willing to talk to CEPD about that. And I'll talk to Mike Bennett on the infrastructure committee and see if we can develop some sort of short-term maintenance program, if that's all right with people.
Well, David, don't we have a kind of a commitment from the county to keep that bike path usable? They were really cooperative with us on, trimming back the landscape and everything. And
yes, they've agreed under our code. We've created a 2-foot buffer on the land from landscaping for that shoulder. They have the county, from what I understand, have taken the position that it's not a bike path, that it's a shoulder, and that the code requires them to keep it clear as a shoulder. So they're not accepting it being called a bike path, but there is no question that sand is particularly on the Twin Water stretch is creating a hazard. Bicycling over sand is not pleasant. So I think I don't think the county is in a position to come out on a regular basis to at least they say they're not in a position to come out on a regular basis to maintain and keeping sand off the shoulder. So I think it behooves us to see if we can find another option. Jay, I'm answering your question.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking we could argue that the sand, is a result of a CEPD project, and maybe it becomes CEPD's issue to keep it clear.
Right. Well, I'll talk to Brighton and we'll see if we can come up with a maintenance program. But it's something that, needs to be maintained because it occurs it occurs just from the wind and from people walking over the dunes right there. There's a path there. And it's obviously occurring from the golf carts or the tractors that Twin Waters is using. So to get on and off the beach. So I think we need to figure out a solution that works for people. We don't want somebody to get hurt.
Right.
And that curve is between people stopping to watch the sunset, between the sand on the road, between the nature of the curve itself. It's an issue. Okay. Next thing on the agenda is Bayside Resilience Project. This is quick. As people know, the CEPD has put that project on back burner. And I think at our last meeting, the panel has agreed that we should put together a committee to see if we can restart that program and work it. Linda Laird has volunteered to at least on an interim basis chair that committee. Linda, we have volunteers coming forward. They've reached out to me who want to work on that committee and work with you and with the panel on it. And we also are putting together a funding proposal to at least initially start to find those projects which we can call low-hanging fruit to see if we can begin to do some pilot projects in terms of Bayside resilience. So I'm going to talk to you offline about that. We've already agreed to go forward on this. And then I'll introduce you to the names of people who are wanting to work on this. And we'll see if we can get this going by our May meeting. All right?
Okay. Thank you to all the volunteers.
Okay. Development Committee, Marguerite, Tia, Maville.
Yes, hi. Yeah, I have nothing to report really, and part of it is, no, it's a lame excuse, but we lost a very dear friend 2 weeks ago. He used to live here on Captiva, and he was hit while mowing the lawn. It was a fatal accident. They live in Ocala now, and so that's been very much on our mind. We've been there, and anyway, Ken, is there anything that we should report?
No, not really.
Good. I have a second committee member. Mike Mullins is interested in helping with fundraising, and we have a slight idea of what we want to do, but I don't want to give it away yet.
Okay. Okay.
Linda is laughing. That's good.
Marguerite, this is Jay. I'm glad to hear that Mike wants to work with you on this. He's got a long history of fundraising on the island.
Thank you. Yes.
In respect to fundraising, I sent out to everybody on the panel an event between the panel and the CCA Foundation to Protect Captiva Legal Fund, and for the package request litigation.
David, I think you're having some kind of a problem with your computer. Your image is not moving and your voice is breaking up.
Is that better now?
Yes, now you're fine.
Okay, the agreement executed, the panel You can't. In your
You're
heads.
coming in and out.
Okay. So I have to say anything more? Okay.
David, you may also want to turn off your video until you get a better signal. That would help your audio.
You cannot hear me.
We can hear you, yes.
You can hear me now?
Yes, I can hear
Yes.
you now.
Okay, what I was just saying, and we're almost done with the meeting, is that the contract between the CCA Foundation to Protect Captiva Legal Fund and the panel has been executed so that the legal fees associated with the litigation against the panel will be paid for out of the Protect Captiva Legal Fund. And I just raised that in conjunction with the fundraising issue that Marguerite raised, because we don't have to worry about expenditures from the panel with respect to that matter. Okay. The only thing left on the agenda is any comments from panel members or from the community?
Nothing from the community.
Um, a motion to adjourn. Motion. Can
It
No,
sounds
Dave-
like David's trying to get a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll
The
make the
motion.
motion.
A second?
Is there,
I'll second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody, and I will work internet connection for the next meeting. All right.
Okay, thanks, David.
All right, take care, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.